What's up, you guys? Welcome to today's video. As you can tell by the title and your screen, this beautiful man is back to share stories of meth use in the desert. Now, it is my hope that in sharing these stories with you guys, you are able to better understand addiction and what that looked like for us. And I think it's very important that Ree shares this very scary, really crazy out there story so that more people understand this side of addiction. Addiction doesn't care how smart you are, how talented you are, how beautiful you are. Addiction does not discriminate. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
So we're gonna have story time here for me. Is this what this
Story
is?
time. I'm gonna get comfortable.
Story
this is your
time?
video.
Oh, wow.
Let's go. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, Chief.
How are we starting? What do we want to talk about? What's the?
I want to talk about it all.
Oh, all of it. Oh man. Well, I guess for the viewers that don't know, I was a methamphetamine addict. I really like to go fast. I was Ricky Bobby. That's all I wanted. I had two speeds. I had full throttle and stop. There was nothing in between. So
I kind of want you to give just a little bit of a sliver of a backstory on how long you did meth and what that looked like for you. And
okay. You know, I dabbled a little bit growing up and taking some, some Adderall, Ritalin, so I knew about, pharmaceutical, speed and amphetamine, but I wasn't really exposed to methamphetamine until I came home from the military. I took over a small trucking company that, my parents had and kind of brought it into my own, and I got it from a driver that came back in.
Driver.
Yeah, a driver that came in off the road, and that was it. I mean, the first time I tried it, I was like, how much more of this can I get?
Yeah.
How much more of it can you get me? And there's a really subculture of drugs like that in trucking. It's there. Everybody knows about it. And, and a lot of the trucks that we had, I was in Arkansas, would head out west to deliver, for a customer we had. And so you're trafficking through, cartel area, New Mexico, Arizona, and that's a lot of times where it was coming from. And, particularly, it didn't take me very long to figure out that driver I had that was passing through a lot and bringing back a lot. And, so that relationship developed rather quickly because I liked the availability. I had money at the time and I had quick access, and it was really good drugs. It was that Breaking Bad dope. The cartel was bringing it right over the border. It came back ultra cheap, ultra greasy, and ultra powerful. So it was just a bad combination,
We were actually talking about the kinds of meth that we were getting in 2011. I was in Fort Smith early 2011, all the way till October, and then I got arrested, and the timelines match up. We were getting the same stuff.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that is crazy to me because we know some of the same people, and it's so weird how our lives were we kept missing each other basically until we met at Star. Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, and I didn't know that, that was my first real experience with ice, with methamphetamine. I didn't find out till later that all dope wasn't created equal. I was unaware that I was doing that Walter White dope. Anyway, and so that's kind of the story of how I came along into it, and you see a lot of these things when we talk about, where, the faces of meth and people getting really bent up, and I saw that in some of the drivers, but this was, this is my story about the first time I ever actually went there. Was it the Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories? It was Rick James. I went to the abyss. I went to the darkness on this story.
Yeah.
And it was not good anyway. So I'd used quite a bit to stay functional, and I knew what it could do for me as far as keeping me up and productive and things like that. But this story starts with, just like any other story, way back in a little town in Arkansas. I'd been up for a while on this dope.
What's a while, you think?
I'm gonna give you the timelines. Before I'd arranged this, I had a friend that was coming home from the military that lived in the West Coast that I'd served with, I'd deployed with. I hadn't seen him since I came back, and I knew that previously talking to him that he was from out in California. Actually, it's Ridgecrest, and if you don't know where Ridgecrest is, it's because nothing's there. If you've ever seen that show Tremors, that's pretty much Ridgecrest. Yeah, it's like
a movie.
It's basically like up in the the desert. Yeah. North of Los Angeles, correct? And and I knew that he had kind of a checkered past with drugs and stuff like that too. But I didn't know what, he was coming home on leave and I just wanted to see him. He was one of my really close friends. And I'd been up maybe a week at this point. Okay. So I made some arrangements. I knew he was coming in. I was probably 7-8 days in. Yeah. So, and then I left, and how I was going to get out there, I was going to ride with one of the drivers. Actually, it was the guy that was, providing me dope because we needed to make a stop on the way out there. Anyway, we headed out. So it took us a couple days to get out there, knowing that my buddy was flying in and his family was going to pick him up at the airport. So we stopped in, I guess I'll just tell we stopped down in Phoenix, and I saw how the operation worked and how they were, it kind of, the transaction, went down, and I had to have mine for a while. So I loaded up for a little bit. I knew I was, going to be out of town, so to speak. And so at this point, I'm feeling pretty bendy. I'm having to do some stretching in between my, the one meal a day I'm eating, not knowing that I'm about to go see my friend that has probably never seen me like this, and I haven't seen him in a long time. And I was kind of I was excited, but I was not really equipped. I was starting to kind of, at day 8, 9, 10 is when you start really kind of start drifting a little bit.
Right, you can start hallucinating.
Yeah, and like I said, this was really strong, dope that we were getting. And, and I still ate and kind of hydrated a little bit. But anyway, I'm starting to kind of feel that, my body's locking up on me a little bit. I'm getting to that spot. And, and this is the time, we I get out to the airport, and I meet him and his wife, and his mom actually met us there. And of course I'm probably sweating. I'm sure, I probably think I'm doing a decent job of hiding. I'm sure they, they had passed, so they probably knew.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
You always think people don't know. They know.
So we went up to Ridgecrest. They drove up there, and I rode with them, and and obviously I was pretty transparent with him. I told him that I had drugs and I was on, doing drugs. And he's like, well, man, I don't do that shit anymore. You know what I mean? But that's cool, man. I just want to hang out with you. And, so we went up and stayed with, his family. And we all went out to dinner, and I was throwing around some cash. I had some money. I remember I paid for everybody's dinner and everything like that. And of course I'm busy, with the trucks I'm running, like a little tweaker. My phone's going off 100 times a day. And
you probably looked like a drug dealer.
I probably did. Yeah, I'm sure I did. Anyway, but I liked him, and I liked his wife. They were good friends of mine. I mean, I stayed with them a lot in the military. I went over, hung out with him. He was my workout buddy. We were pretty inseparable. And so anyway, I'm staying out there for about a week. All right. So, at this point, I get there. I'm about day 10 in. I stay out there about a week, and it starts to get really difficult because I'm staying in another room, obviously not sleeping all night on my laptop, you know what I mean? About day 6 or 7, I know I'm winding down. I'm not going to be able to stay as long as I can. I don't have, I was going to catch a ride with a driver that I had going out west, a different one. I was going to come back, and at this point in time, my mind starts really working. I'm coming on, I'm coming on day 16, 17. I'm really starting to have problems. You know what I mean?
I'm going to pause you there because so many people will say it's impossible to stay awake that long. It is sober. It is. And
I won't tell you that maybe, I can't 100% honest say that maybe as I'm out there, that maybe a couple times a night I didn't nod off, you know what I mean? And probably come back to, and it might have been an hour, you know what I mean? But immediately you go right back to doing dope. And people don't understand, this is why I failed to realize that those drugs that I were doing were legit Walter White dope. Well, I found out later, as I kind of digressed into my story, this is a little bit out of the storyline here. I got that other, some other drugs from other people, and I couldn't stay up near as long on that stuff.
Oh,
sure. It would start, it didn't have enough legs, it didn't have enough thrust, it would start to die off. Day 6, you were done. Day 4 or 5, you started really dragging. It didn't matter how much you did, it started pulling you down, you know what I mean? And if you eat and drink a lot of water, you can go a little longer.
It is crazy though how your body naturally, no matter what you're doing, shuts down and you're completely unaware of it. So I've said in past videos, 11, 12 days, that was kind of the longest I've ever stayed up, but my body was shutting down and my mind had kind of messed with me. And what I would have to do is I would have to speedball and do Roxy's to shut my body down.
And you kind of lapse. I'm sure you probably go in and out of it and you
don't realize it.
You don't realize it. So anyway,
back to the story.
It starts to get to me, and I realize I'm in a spot. I'm in a spot. I can't go to sleep. I can't come down. I got to get home. I got a lot of drugs on me. I'd actually gotten a hold of a really good sack of weed while I was out there. Might as well go for broke. And anyway, I kind of start spazzing a little bit, and I make up a reason I have to get home immediately. And so they take me to the closest airport, which I can't figure out how far it was, and I rent a car. So and I'm thinking, well, I'll just drive home. Okay.
Flying isn't an option because you don't want to lose your drug.
I don't want to lose my drug. I got to drive home. You know what I mean?
Addict mentality.
Yeah. And when you've been up this long, and I need to key people into the story, there's no taking a nap and getting away with it. If you run out, you're done. You're done, son. You're going down. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you guys, it is a testament to the human spirit to try to hang on when you're coming off one, to even hold your eyes open if you've been on a burner that long. And I promise you, those people that just don't get it, a sandwich and a nap is not going to make up for a week's worth of no sleep. It's just not going to work. You know what I mean?
Your body wants that week back.
Exactly. It wants its payment. Right now, the rent is due. Yeah. And that's why, I always struggled with it, because I had a lot on my plate. I had a lot to do. I had a lot of responsibility. So I just never could afford to come down long enough and hard enough.
You were doing everything with this trucking company, everything from payroll to dispatch to everything.
Yeah, the numbers, the checks, all of it, yeah. So anyway, on this story, I start to lose it. I realize I've wandered down the rabbit hole. I've been up longer than I've ever been up. I realize I'm starting to, that thing that people talk about when in the meth culture and drivers, where people got bent, I realized it was starting to happen to me. I was starting to lose distance with my perception, and reality were not lining up. And I need to get home fast. So I rent this car, and I'm starting to try to drive home. And I remember when I realized it was starting to get to me is when I kind of got out of LA. And I start getting to the desert, and then obviously there's nothing out there. There's no radio. This is before you had Pandora and all that stuff. It was it. You know what I mean?
Tough drive.
It's a tough drive, and I'm in a little car, and it starts to mess with me because the side winds are starting to blow me really hard, and I can't figure out if it's me or if it's the car or something's going wrong. And it starts starting to get into my head. And when we talk about getting bent and kind of falling down, the rabbit hole, when you're on one good, your reality, the perception of reality, you can just follow everything, every thought, every suspicion, it consumes you. Yeah. And I'm really struggling with this, and I'm just thinking, I gotta get home. Anyway, to tell you how this story starts to go bad, and I know I'm getting pulled down and I have no way to make it. At this point, I'm just eating rocks out of my bag of dope. I'm not crunching it up and snorting it. I'm not smoking it. I'm just literally eating rocks, and I'm just chugging it down with water. It burns your throat. It burns your mouth to do that. I've never done it because I just couldn't stand the taste. I can't even imagine. Okay, continue. And I'm because that's I'm thinking I just got to get home. And I'm just like, it's popcorn. You know what I mean? So at this point in time, I am soaring off the deep end. All right. So this is where the story takes the biggest spin of all. At some point, I need gas, and I'm in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. All right. And after about, a half a day of just eating rocks, and, at this point, I'm probably coming up on day 18, 19, you know what I mean? And I can't go down. Because if I stop, and I've got a business to run, I've still got a phone, I've got all these things going on, I just need to get home, you know what I mean? So I stopped for gas in this little nowhere gas station somewhere. I can't even tell you where it's at. I go in to use the restroom, all right? And I'm thinking, I just can't keep eating these rocks. I got to do a bump, all right? So I kind of go in the bathroom stall, and I try to chop one up a little bit. And then something starts to think, something gets a hold of my mind. It's like Inception, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a little seed got planted in there, and I've been up for so long, and I started to think, for the first time in my life, they were after me. Oh, they were after me, and they know. And I thought, man, those people kind of looked at me in the store weird coming in here. And it got a hold of me, and then I sat there, and I started thinking about it in the bathroom stall. And I'm thinking, man, they're on to me. They're out there. I've got, an ounce or more of this dope on me. And I'm like, they're not going to get me. They're not going to get me, not this guy. I'm going to flush it. I'm not going down like that. And then I start to panic, because if I flush it, I can't get home. And I'm going to come off of one out here in nowhere's lands, New Mexico, in a car. And I'm going to pass out for who knows how long. a day, 2 days, 3 days before I come back to, and I have just enough energy to get 15 minutes down the road before I have to take another nap, over and over. And I'm 1,000+ miles from home, okay? So this is racing, and, and I kind of go back and forth, and I'm sitting here thinking, man, you've been up for too long. There's nobody out there. You have got to get out of this bathroom. Get out of this bathroom, get out of this bathroom. You've got to go. And I would get myself right to the edge, and I'd almost get out, and I'm thinking, dude, if you do it, they're waiting for you. And you're going to prison. You've got this dope. You've been running dope. They're there. And as I'm sitting here struggling with this thing, somebody comes in to clean the bathroom.
Oh my God.
From the store. And at that point, I'm like, they're checking on me. They're checking on me. I know they're checking on me. I know they are.
At this point, your mind really starts to play tricks on you with what you know and what you think could be real. So you're fighting with this narrative that you just created in your mind. Yeah. You know it's not real, but it seems so real, and it is impossible to talk yourself out of it.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing for me, and I don't want to talk negatively about anybody or try to act like I'm talking myself up. I always dealt with the drugs and staying up really, really well. Even when I left, I lost my company and I worked at a larger company at a corporate office, I could stay up for several days and still shower, put my clothes on. I looked presentable enough that you probably wouldn't have noticed I'd been up for a little bit. At least I did.
That would have made me insane.
You know what I mean?
Working in a corporate environment.
With thousands of people working there, I handled, the mentality of the drugs and the staying up and the lack of sleep. I always had a really strong mind, and I could get myself kind of tracking a little bit. But this was the first time I completely lost it. Yeah. Completely lost it. And I just knew that they were out there waiting for me. And then no matter how bad I tried to talk myself off that ledge, I could not stop myself from getting back out there. And I said it was such a struggle because I knew I couldn't flush this dope, because if I did, I had nothing. I had nothing, and I was going to be stuck. And like I said, we talked about, I was never going to make it home. And so finally, after who knows how long, I was probably in this bathroom stall, you guys, for a couple hours trying to go back and forth. And this is a little nothing gas station, you know what I mean? And I finally worked up enough courage to get out of the bathroom. And I remember coming out and opening the door and my heart racing so bad. And I took a couple steps out and I looked across the aisles, and nobody was jumping for me. And I remember that longest walk to get out of this gas station, my heart's pounding, and I'm thinking, is this real? Or have I just imagined all this? Or are they really gonna get me? And I remember I walked past the front attendant. I'm sure she looked at me like I was crazy, because I was acting crazy. I was in the bathroom for 2 hours,
Probably breathing all hard.
Yeah.
You're a big guy, you breathe hard anyway.
I'm probably sweating, you know what I mean? And I look like, there's no way, at 17, 18, 19, nearly 20 days, you look like you've been up 20 days. It don't matter how good a job you're doing. Anyway, so she looks at me and I get out the door, and it's when I get to the parking lot and I realize there is nobody in this parking lot.
Yeah.
There is nobody on the road.
You've made this
I'm in the desert. I have made this all up in my head. And now what am I going to do about it? I realize at this point I'm 1,000 miles from home, and I cannot keep a grip on reality. And it was the hardest drive home. I made it. And to kind of tell you, I don't think I've told you this part of the story. I got home, I was driving, and I didn't let off, and it was nighttime. I missed the turnpike exit to get off at Tulsa. So I actually went to the southwest Missouri.
You drove further?
I got detoured out because I forgot. I was so out of it. I was probably coming in and out of it driving. Yeah. And I realized, where am I at? And I drive into Missouri. Instead of across Oklahoma through Tulsa into northwest Arkansas, I've forgotten to get off, and I followed 44 all the way up. So I basically drove a whole hour out of my way, and I have to drive down south. And the gas is getting low on me. I can't find a gas station. I'm completely losing my mind. I mean, at this point, I'm struggling. I'm hanging on by a thread.
How did you survive that?
I have no idea. And I remember I got home, and my buddy that I used to live with in high school, and then my ex-girlfriend, they were still at my apartment. It was still that little apartment I had when I first came home that I paid like $495 a month for. It couldn't have been more than 700 square feet. They were there, and I remember them telling me when I walked in, they said you could feel the bad energy was just vibrating off me. They said you
were probably literally vibrating for driving for so long.
It took over the whole room.
Yeah.
And I went to sleep. I got back in my bedroom and I thought if I could just get there and I could maybe go down for a little bit. And I was sleeping, and I remember when they told me when I came to, it was like a weekend. I'd kind of timed it where I could, business would be slow enough. Even if my phone was ringing, hopefully it wasn't that much. I was kicking and talking and moaning. It sounded like I was having, probably PTSD, nightmares too. It was just a disturbing weekend for them, needless to say.
Yeah.
And when I kind of came to and I knew I had to get up and go to work, on Monday, after being up this long, what did I do? I drugged myself up, had me a little milk or whatever, got in the shower and chopped me up another fresh line because I had to have it to
get
go.
back to work.
Because if I didn't have it, I wasn't going to work. I wasn't getting anything done. I was going right back to bed if I didn't have it. And I was going to be in that bed for a week. Easy. And then when that week was up, I was going to need a nap every 30 minutes to an hour for probably another week. That's just how destroyed you are when you're on one like that.
This is what keeps people using.
Yeah.
They feel like they can't stop because then you're going to lose your job. And,
It's what keeps functional. It's how functional people start using and get trapped into the cycle, and it starts to deteriorate their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, I can't picture you like that.
Oh, I mean, I just couldn't believe I digressed, and I was just out of the bag. I was just eating just shards of meth, just dropping it down, and knowing, being smart enough and aware enough that, I think that was probably the hardest thing, knowing that I'm slipping off the edge. I am now going into the twilight zone.
Yeah.
And no matter how much I'm trying to keep myself in check, I just cannot do it.
Because for a long time, addicts like Reese and I won't speak for everyone, but we think we have a firm grasp on it. We think we're okay.
Yeah.
And when those moments happen where we realize we're fucking not okay, that's just maybe like a seed of I need to get my life together, even though it doesn't happen right away in a lot of cases, like for you and for me, just knowing like I am really bad. I think that kind of makes us...
We're strong enough to, I think I always felt like, because I'm a control freak and I like to have control, I felt like I had control over my addiction for the longest time. Piece of my, this story, that little piece of my life, show me that I really wasn't in near as much control as I thought it. Of course, it didn't stop me.
It didn't stop for another almost 10 years?
I went to the military at 18.
Early 20s.
Yeah, early 20s, yeah.
You didn't get sober until you were 32?
30, yeah. 30, a little over 30, almost 31, yeah.
Almost 31.
Yeah, so, it really scared the crap out of me. It didn't stop me from using, of course not, but,
This time we'll just be more careful.
Yeah.
We just won't drive all the way to the West Coast.
I think, this is probably somewhere along the, I was more careful with my planning, and I think somewhere after this is when I came up with that genius plan that I'll sleep on the weekends and I'll work all week. I actually thought this was a great plan. I was like, okay,
genius.
I'll do my drugs and work all weekend, and burn it at both ends. Sleep is for the weekends, because 8 hours a night.
No.
Times 5 is 40. You get to the weekend, you've got 48 hours to work with. If I sleep and nap and get up to eat a little bit, I can get the same amount of sleep in the week.
You just thought you could outsmart addiction.
I did. I tried every which way. Yeah. And, this was just a really scary story because it was the first time in my life I felt like I'd ever struggled mentally with what was going on. And it really, I'm telling you, that 2 hours in that bathroom stall was the longest 2 hours. It was like slipping down a black hole. And no matter how much I tried to throw up a safety net or line to pull myself out, it was like I don't know how to describe it. It's like I convinced myself that there was no rope, even if I was pulling on it to try to get out. I couldn't tell if the black hole was real or the rope was real. Which one should I be responding to? And it was just the paradigm, the struggle that was going on with me. At that moment, it'd be really interesting to have a camera.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? To try to figure out,
having that footage.
And at that point in time, I'm probably really, when you're stiff and you've been up for a while, you do a lot of stretching, You
walk weird. Yeah.
Just, I'm not pull a hammy here, you know what I mean? You walk real weird. Yeah, for sure. So that was definitely a wild story. It was definitely a big one for me. It was the first real scary moment I had with drugs. Where I just thought, I was losing touch, and I didn't know if I'd come back from that. That was the biggest thing when I got home. I was like, man, how am I going to recover from this? You know, but hey, a little bit of a, you know, couple days worth of sleep, and I was chopping it right back up, going back to my same routine. That's the craziness of what it, you know, my life was. That's how I lived, you know.
So,
don't do drugs. Take care of yourself. Get some good sleep.
Yeah, so we're gonna end today's video here. I really hope you guys enjoyed this story time, and I just wanna leave you with something. These moments in our lives that we share on this channel, they were big red flags. They were big warning signs for us, and we failed to recognize them, and we failed to reach out for help. So if you are struggling with addiction, please reach out to someone that you trust for help. There are so many different paths to sobriety, whether it's medically assisted treatment, therapy, abstinence, cognitive behavioral therapy, 12-step meetings. There's so many resources out there to get sober. What worked for us might not work for you, and vice versa. So I love you guys. Stay safe, stay sober, reach out for help if you are struggling. Don't eat rocks in the fucking desert.
Save yourself some pain.
And we will see you guys in the next one.